fear stung me while I gazed, and starting up, and running to the prow, as I stood my hair was gently lifted on my brow. A dark line of ripples appeared to the east, gaining rapidly on us. My breathless remark to Adrian was followed by the flapping of the canvas, as the adverse wind struck it, and our boat lurched. Swift as speech, the web of the storm thickened overhead, the sun went down red, the dark sea was strewed with foam, and our skiff rose and fell in its increasing furrows. Behold us now in our frail tenement, hemmed in by hungry, roaring waves, buffeted by winds. In the inky east, two vast clouds sailing contrary ways met. The lightning leapt forth, and the hoarse thunder muttered. Again in the south the clouds replied, and the forked stream of fire running along the black sky showed us the appalling piles of clouds, now met and obliterated by the heaving waves. Great God! And we alone, we three alone, sole dwellers on the sea and on the earth, we three must perish. The vast universe, its myriad worlds, and the plains of boundless earth which we had left, the extent of shoreless sea around, contracted to my view. They and all that they contained shrunk up to one point, even to our tossing bark, freighted with glorious humanity. A convulsion of despair crossed the love-beaming face of Adrian, while with set teeth he murmured, "Yet they shall be saved." Clara, visited by a human pang, pale and trembling, crept near him. He looked on her with an encouraging smile. "Do you fear, sweet girl?" "Oh, do not fear. We shall soon be on shore." The darkness prevented me from seeing the changes of her countenance, but her voice was clear and sweet, as she replied, "Why should I fear? Neither sea nor storm can harm us, if mighty destiny or the ruler of destiny does not permit. And then the stinging fear of surviving either of you is not here. One death will clasp us undivided." Meanwhile we took in all our sails, save a gib, and as soon as we might without danger changed our course, running with the wind for the Italian shore. Dark night mixed everything. We hardly discerned the white crests of the murderous surges, except when lightning made brief noon and drank the darkness, showing us our danger, and restoring us to double night. We were all silent, except when Adrian, as steersman, made an encouraging observation. Our little shell obeyed the rudder miraculously well, and ran along on the top of the waves as if she had been an offspring of the sea, and the angry mother sheltered her endangered child. I sat at the prow watching our course, when suddenly I heard the waters break with redoubled fury. We were certainly near the shore. At the same time I cried, "About there!" and a broad lightning, filling the concave, showed us for one moment the level beach ahead, disclosing even the sands and stunted, ooze-sprinkled beds of reeds that grew at high water mark. Again it was dark, and we drew in our breath with such content as one may, who, while fragments of volcano-hurled rock darken the air, sees a vast mass ploughing the ground immediately at his feet. What to do we knew not. The breakers, here, there, everywhere encompassed us. They roared and dashed, and flung their hated spray in our faces. With considerable difficulty and danger we succeeded at length in altering our course, and stretched out from shore. I urged my companions to prepare for the wreck of our little skiff, and to bind themselves to some oar or spar which might suffice to float them. I was myself an excellent swimmer. The very sight of the sea was wont to raise in me such sensations as a huntsman experiences when he hears a pack of hounds in full cry. I loved to feel the waves wrap me and strive to overpower me, while I, lord of myself, moved this way or that in spite of their angry buffetings. Adrian also could swim, but the weakness of his frame prevented him from feeling pleasure in the exercise, or acquiring any great expertness. But what power could the strongest swimmer oppose to the overpowering violence of ocean and its fury? My efforts to prepare my companions were rendered nearly futile, for the roaring breakers prevented our hearing one another speak, and the waves that broke continually over our boat obliged me to exert all my strength in lading the water out as fast as it came in. The wild darkness, palpable and rayless, hemmed us round, dissipated only by the lightning. Sometimes we beheld thunderbolts, fiery red, fall into the sea, and at intervals vast spouts stooped from the clouds, churning the wild ocean which rose to meet them, while the fierce gale bore the wrack onwards, and they were lost in the chaotic mingling of sky and sea. Our gunwales had been torn away, our single sail had been rent to ribbons, and borne down the stream of the wind. We had cut away our mast, and lightened the boat of all she contained. Clara attempted to assist me in heaving the water from the hold, and as she turned her eyes to look on the lightning, I could discern by that momentary gleam that resignation had conquered every fear. We have a power given us in any worst extremity, which props the else feeble mind of man, and enables us to endure the most savage tortures with a stillness of soul which in hours of happiness we could not have imagined. A calm more dreadful in truth than the tempest allayed the wild beatings of my heart, a calm like that of the gamester, the suicide, and the murderer, when the last die is on the point of being cast, while the poisoned cup is at the lips, as the death blow is about to be given. Hours passed thus, hours which might write old age on the face of beardless youth, and grizzle the silky hair of infancy. Hours, while the chaotic uproar continued, while each dread gust transcended in fury the one before, and our skiff hung on the breaking wave, and then rushed into the valley below, and trembled and spun between the watery precipices that seemed most to meet above her. For a moment the gale paused, and ocean sank to comparative silence. It was a breathless interval. The wind which, as a practised leaper, had gathered itself up before it sprung, now with terrific roar rushed over the sea, and the waves struck our stern. Adrian exclaimed that the rudder was gone. "We are lost!" cried Clara. "Save yourselves! Oh, save yourselves!" The lightning showed me the poor girl half buried in the water at the bottom of the boat. As she was sinking in it, Adrian caught her up, and sustained her in his arms. We were without a rudder. We rushed prow foremost into the vast billows piled up ahead. They broke over and filled the tiny skiff. One scream I heard, one cry that we were gone I uttered. I found myself in the waters. Darkness was around. When the light of the tempest flashed, I saw the keel of our upset boat close to me. I clung to this, grasping it with clenched hand and nails, while I endeavoured during each flash to discover any appearance of my companions. I thought I saw Adrian at no great distance from me, clinging to an oar. I sprung from my hold, and with energy beyond my human strength, I dashed aside the waters as I strove to lay hold of him. As that hope failed, instinctive love of life animated me, and feelings of contention as if a hostile will combated with mine. I breasted the surges and flung them from me, as I would the opposing front and sharpened claws of a lion about to enfang my bosom. When I had been beaten down by one wave, I rose on another, while I felt bitter pride curl my lip. Ever since the storm had carried us near the shore, we had never attained any great distance from it. With every flash I saw the bordering coast, yet the progress I made was small, while each wave as it receded carried me back into ocean's far abysses. At one moment I felt my foot touch the sand, and then again I was in deep water. My arms began to lose their power of motion. My breath failed me under the influence of the strangling waters. 1,000 wild and delirious thoughts crossed me. As well as I can now recall them, my chief feeling was, how sweet it would be to lay my head on the quiet earth, where the surges would no longer strike my weakened frame, nor the sound of waters ring in my ears. To attain this repose, not to save my life, I made a last effort. The shelving shore suddenly presented a footing for me. I rose and was again thrown down by the breakers. A point of rock to which I was enabled to cling gave me a moment's respite, and then, taking advantage of the ebbing of the waves, I ran forwards, gained the dry sands, and fell senseless on the oozy reeds that sprinkled them. I must have lain long deprived of life, for when first, with a sickening feeling, I unclosed my eyes, the light of morning met them. Great change had taken place meanwhile. Grey dawn dappled the flying clouds, which sped onwards, leaving visible at intervals vast lakes of pure ether. A fountain of light arose in an increasing stream from the east, behind the waves of the Adriatic, changing the grey to a rosy hue, and then flooding sky and sea with aerial gold. A kind of stupor followed my fainting. My senses were alive, but memory was extinct. The blessed respite was short. A snake lurked near me to sting me into life. On the first retrospective motion I would have started up, but my limbs refused to obey me. My knees trembled, the muscles had lost all power. I still believed that I might find one of my beloved companions cast like me, half alive, on the beach, and I strove in every way to restore my frame to the use of its animal functions. I wrung the brine from my hair, and the rays of the risen sun soon visited me with genial